there you go. Yeah,
he strikes me as quite a clever chap, does Rob?
There
but I presented to him that he probably would know all the answers if the quiz was based on the pubs closest to the rugby league crowd.
It's encyclopedic, isn't it?
Yeah.
I like the fact he's using it as a little forum for sorting out these little SLP dates.
Yeah, that's good, isn't it? It's a shame we can't make it along tomorrow then.
Yeah.
But I was going to say the quiz today is designed specifically for you and Rob.
Right, okay.
So if you don't get them all,
Jesus wept.
You should feel bad about yourselves.
I was shattered last week. I felt myself losing my temper a little bit. I feel like I held it together. But towards the middle part of the quiz where I just wasn't getting them, I was like, fucking hell! I could feel myself.
I think it was Adrian Lamb that you couldn't cope with the most.
Oh, don't. Yeah, it was...
Anyway.
I was just happy that I got Sivan a Seaver at the end.
Oh no, it was Leigh Takiri.
Leigh Takiri, oh fucking don't. Honestly, there's been times when I've been driving home from work or around places and quiet where I've repeatedly, about 3 or 4 times this week, I'm fucking, you know, just in your own mind, and I've literally just gone, fucking Leigh Takiri, like that, and been annoyed at myself for not bringing it to the fore.
Mark at Wilco2205, he was at Glastonbury, that's hence the start to his tweet. Long drive ahead, good job, Super League pod, pulled off a rare Tuesday release.
I would think you would find
standard Tuesday release.
It's fucking episode 148 that our Tuesday episodes are greatly outnumbered by our
Wednesdays or otherwise,
Our Tuesday episodes greatly outnumber our Wednesday morning.
Anyway, he does say he strapped himself in, which is good, because for the safety of his long drive and for bracing himself for the podcast. He also said, if Fev Tiger did get his own podcast, would he be Tyler Castman?
Very good. I like a pun. I think we can all appreciate
well
puns.
played, indeed. Malcolm Whittle at Malcolm Sharkey, our friend from down at the Tamo. The Trojans now are
our partners.
Yeah, he said regarding the podcast on websites, SLP has been on our website homepage for months, and that is tain-trojans.rlfc.webplus.net. So that's TEIGN Trojans TROJANS.rlfc.webplus.net.
So now you've got another way to find us. Super League
and they're very good. They've got links to both us on iTunes and on Spreaker, so people of all platforms can get on that website on the devices and find us.
That's why we're proud to partner with you and proud to be Trojans. Thank you.
We're waiting for Malcolm to get in touch with news of the training gear going on sale.
Yeah.
Hopefully that'll be around the end of this month.
Yeah, Malcolm or Barry, either way, drop us a line. We'd love to put some money your way again.
David Cantrell at Dr. Hideous said, read other podcasts. Brian Moore's Full Contact usually has a short but sweet RL section.
Yeah.
Probably gets bumped for
Probably gets bumped for Formula 1 or Rugby Union, yeah. I know that feeling.
Because I was saying that because I think it is a release of his show on the Sunday night on TalkSport, isn't it?
He is one of the more... I find him easier to listen to when he talks about Rugby, Brian, more than I do a lot of the other Rugby Union guys.
He has a legitimate respect, I think, for Rugby League. I've seen more and more come out in what he says. Plus, his views tend to not necessarily always be reflective of the rah-rah money brigade.
He's not John Inverdale, is he?
Yeah. Sarah Mackenzie got in touch with an email, superleaguepod@gmail.com if you want to send an email. She said, in amongst my hours of queuing on Saturday, I was wondering, Rugby League makes such a big deal over it being better to have a small stadium full for big matches rather than a large stadium half empty. Does it really matter? Do the general public actually think, ooh, Rugby League must be a bad sport because there's lots of empty seats in that stadium, versus, look, Rugby League must be amazing because that stadium is full?
Well, it's perceptions and marketing, isn't it, to a degree, in terms of how you sell your product. You want it to look like the stadium is heaving at the seams rather than like it's something that people are passingly interested in. I think, 3,000 in at Salford, for argument's sake, isn't necessarily going to provide you with the imagery that you want to market the game in a kind of satellite fashion.
Well, this is specifically in terms of this is talking about the semi-finals. Hull did this crazy Saturday release for total all tickets on general sale for their, I think, 6,000 or so seat tickets that they had for the semi-final against Leeds at Doncaster, which is in one of those smaller stadiums. Now, let's not forget, it didn't sell out last year. Hull did a great job. Wigan not so much. Having to travel 3 and a bit hours across the country probably doesn't help that.
But I had a Wii for most of that journey as well.
Yeah, but lost my train of thought.
Sorry. Full stadiums.
But that wasn't full last year, and we haven't had full semi-finals even at smaller venues.
No.
And part of me thinks sometimes some of the clubs that get there, maybe your Wiggins is, your Leeds is, maybe Warrington, because they've got quite a lot of cup finals, but have it in the back of the mind that they're already going to the final, let's save our money.
Yeah.
Which I don't necessarily think is the right attitude, but I get why people would do that in these, sort of harsher economic climes. But for years and years and years, we probably were getting more fans in the bigger grounds, but them still being half empty when you were having them at, say, Huddersfield or
that makes sense,
or at Wigan or wherever you might have used to have the semi-finals. But to be honest, I don't. With Sarah's point, answering a question, I don't think it makes much of a jot of difference. And either which way you dress it up, the rugby league community is going to moan, because that's all we do about our. Either we're going to moan like, yeah, but it's pathetic that we can't sell out a bigger stadium, or it's embarrassing to the club, to the league, that we have to be in such this small stadium for TV, versus it's embarrassing that there's empty seats on the TV. So either way, we're going to call ourselves an embarrassment, slag off the RFL like it's all their fault, and then move on to the next thing we're going to slag everyone off for, because that's how we roll through our lives as rugby league fans, unfortunately.
Well, let's put a positive spin on things, because we've both experienced the chemo at different times, and it's a fabulous little stadium, and I really enjoyed my experience there. The beer was good, the food was nice. It wasn't particularly difficult to get to in terms of parking up and stuff. We had a decent time, and it's in a nicely regenerated neck of the woods in Doncaster, so enjoy the day out and get behind your team and let's take some positives out of it. There's
much more of a worry that the two sets of fans who have to travel half an hour aren't going to turn up and fill a stadium, Thomas, than the two sets of fans who are going to have to travel 45 minutes to an hour, trust me.
Yeah.
Wigan fans don't go to games like they used to for these sort of things. They'll think we're going to beat Salford. Don't know why we've got deluded to the fact that we think we're going to ever beat anyone, or they think we're going to lose. What's the point in going? They're the two camps. They're the two main camps.
Right, and then between that, other people are going, well, we might win, and let's cheer them on.
Or there's people who are like, I'm a supporter, I'll go and support them.
Yeah.
And if they lose, it's not the end of my life. And they're not all worth. They're not all not fit to wear the shirt. Blah 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 blah. But Salford just don't have the support base. Hopefully, it turns up, and these moments this year could be turning point moments if they get fans through the door for these occasions. Definitely. But we'll see.
Well, there you go. Thank you, though, Scoot. It's always a pleasure to hear from you, and thank you to everyone else who got in touch. That is your feedback and shout-outs taken care of. Let's take a look now at news from around the world of rugby league. Okay, so to news from around the world of rugby league then. And we'll start at the Leigh Sports Village, where the Centurions... come on, right. At the end of a fucking segment, maybe. What do you want?
I'm going to put like that in as an outtake.
What?
The bit where we talked about setting this up.
I told you it wouldn't feel fucking legit. Just tell us what you want to do.
But anyway...
I don't know why you make me do these things.
You know what we called the show This Week in Leigh the other week when they won their cup final and all went on an end-of-season party?
Yeah.
Literally, this news segment makes this show probably This Week in Leigh too.
It really does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Take it away. I think that as I was reading through. Well, I would say may I continue, but I'd acceded to your request anyway earlier on, so it just all sounds a bit tin pot now. Thanks. Right, as I was saying, we will start at the Leigh Sports Village because the Centurions this week have signed Warrington centre Rhys Evans on a 3-year deal from next season, and Nick Rawsthorne from Hull FC on a 1-month loan deal. Welsh international Evans is 24 but looks about 100. Came through Wire's youth system and has played 105 times since his 2010 debut. He plays the game tough, is quick and has an eye for an opportunity and the ability to finish those opportunities, said head coach Neil Jukes. Rawsthorne's 21. He moved to the Black and Whites of Hull from Halifax at the start of the season and has spent time at York and Doncaster on loan already this campaign. He has a phenomenal strike rate and will ease pressure on the Hull back line, added Neil Jukes. So, staying with Leigh to take some pressure Off their finances, one might suspect. Leigh Centurions have announced the departure of Willie Tonga, releasing him from his contract with immediate effect after a mutual agreement. The 33-year-old joined Leigh from Catalan Dragons in 2015, but has found his chances limited in the first team of late, making just 3 appearances this season. The former Australia international and Queensland centre will now seek a new club, as Leigh Centurions owner David Beaumont indicated that Tonga will be looking for a Super League move.
It's disappointed at 2 stops in the Super League so far, so...
Yeah. No reason to think he won't support on a 3rd.
Yeah.
There you go. Staying with Leigh, the Centurions have also signed Tongan international Samisoni Langai on a contract until the end of the season. Langai was released by Australia inside the Penrith Panthers earlier this month, with Leigh giving him a short-term deal with the option of a further year. The 24-year-old, who has 7 caps for Tonga, is versatile and can play in the back row at half-back or at centre, giving them some options.
They'll be desperate to put him at half, I'd suggest. But that 1 year option is like a if we stay up deal, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's what this is.
Yeah, exactly. So remaining with the Leigh Centurions, this is this week in Leigh, isn't it? The Super League club Leigh Centurions have signed standoff Daniel Mortimer until the end of the 2019 season. The 28-year-old is a former Australian NRL Rookie of the Year award winner. The Sydney-born Mortimer, who has also played for the Roosters, Gold Coast Titans and Cronulla Sharks, began his career at Parramatta Eels in 2009. So, to be fair to Leigh, they are making moves to try and fix their tumbling season. Or do you think they're investing for next year in hopes that they'll remain up?
A bit of both.
Mm-hmm.
A bit of both.
Fair enough.
That's what I would suggest.
Let's stay with Leigh, though, because Sam Hopkins has extended his contract with the Centurions until the end of November 2020. The 27-year-old made his senior debut in 2011 and has gone on to make over 150 appearances for the club, scoring 54 tries in the process. Decent piece of business for club and player, I would suggest.
Just before we finish...
Just before we move on to the Leigh Centurions.
Yeah, just before we finish on these stories and talk about Leigh a bit. All these sort of deals that have happened... I'm reluctant to comment too much on them because it feels like whilst the Super League future is in the air, like how much is it really going to work bringing all these signings in at this stage? It worked for Wakefield, didn't it?
Yeah,
but barely.
But Wakefield
in the first year of the new structure, when they barely beat you guys, supported by some of their newer signings that had come in around the late June period, got them over that line sort of thing. I mean, Scott Moore was one of them, weren't he? And he scored the winning try against you all in the £1 million game.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
So really, is this been shown to be a recipe for success? Salford didn't exactly do, great stuff last year, and they brought in some players, didn't they, who didn't contribute hardly at all. Burgess and... What's his name's going to make that like brilliant back row forward from the Warriors who went to Manly, kind of started to disappear a bit, and then was at Salford for the back end of last year, and no one's heard sight and sound of him since.
Oh, Fellatio.
Yeah,
meet Fellatio.
Yeah. So it's not always.
What's his actual name?
And they ended up.
What was his actual name?
Felipe Mateo.
They
ended up only just blagging the way through the £1 million game and stuff. So it's like with players that weren't those signings doing all the work for them. It was players that were there when they were good in the first half of last year. So I don't know. So until we see the proof in the pudding, as it were, I don't know what to say about these Leigh signings, other than Sam Hopkins is a good championship player who's been okay at Super League level too. So that's a sensible one.
Yeah. Oh, you'll have to wait and see. Yeah. You'll absolutely have to wait and see. I don't see them getting off the bottom now, even with these guys coming in necessarily. So, but I can see them winning the £1 million game.
Well, I think they've got a chance to get off the bottom this week, haven't they? But we'll talk to that.
We'll get to that towards the end of the show. So, moving on then, Leigh Centurions and Sheffield Eagles have mutually agreed to terminate their dual registration, as the former have suffered numerous injury problems in recent weeks. The club have recently loaned Nick Rawthorne from Hull FC on a 1-month loan deal, with the with options becoming increasingly thin ahead of the business end of the season. Those circumstances paved the way for a termination of the dual registration with Sheffield, who admit themselves they have not benefited from the partnership as much as they would have liked. Lachlan Burr, Jamie Acton, Sam Hopkins, Dane Weston, James Green and Lewis Foster all played for the Eagles during the first half of the Championship